The red dust swirled around the broken domes of New Sol Colony like angry ghosts. Jinwoo pressed his face against the cracked window of the command center, watching their last working machine die in the storm outside. The harvester had been limping for months, held together with spare parts they made by hand. Now it lay silent in the dirt, another piece of their world that had given up. "That's it then," said Minho behind him. The chief engineer's voice was tired, worn down by 15 years of fighting against failing machines with nothing but hope and cleverness. No more harvesters, no more spare parts to make new ones. Jinwoo nodded but didn't turn around. He was afraid Minho would see the fear in his eyes. As colony administrator, he had to be strong for everyone. But inside, he felt like that broken harvester, used up and ready to quit. 15 years. That's how long it had been since the big solar storm fried their communication system and cut them off from Earth. What started as a happy colony of 50,000 people had become a slow death sentence. Every day brought new problems. Every week, something else broke down. "How long do we have?" Jinwoo asked, though he already knew the answer would be bad. "The air makers will quit working in 3 weeks, maybe 4 if we turn off everything else." Minho sat down heavily in his chair. "But sir, we already turned off everything we could. The food gardens are running on backup power. The water cleaners are only working half the time." Jinwoo finally turned around. Minho looked older than his 40 years. They all did. The constant worry, the thin air, the fear, it aged people fast, down in the living areas. Dr. Sujin was making her daily rounds with almost no medicine left. She moved from family to family, doing what she could with bandages and kind words. The children were getting sick more often now. The air wasn't clean enough anymore. Her daughter, Larin, helped hand out the small portions of food they could spare each day. The 11-year-old girl always smiled at the younger kids, even though Jinwoo knew she was hungry too. All the children were getting thinner in the landing bay. Their last spaceship sat like a dead whale. The cargo ship Magangwa had been their final hope for escape, but its engines were beyond fixing. They had torn apart half the colony, looking for parts. But some things just couldn't be repaired with wishes and determination. Jinwoo walked through the colony's main street, if you could call the tunnel between domes a street. Families sat together in the dim light, sharing their small meals and telling stories to keep their spirits up. These people had followed his leadership to this distant world, believing in a better future among the stars. Now they were all going to die because of his choices. "Sir." Minho had followed him. "Sir, what are your orders?" Jinwoo stopped walking. Around them, the colony hummed with the sound of failing machines working too hard. Air recyclers coughed and wheezed. Water pumps groaned with effort. Even the lights flickered as the power system struggled to keep up. "We build a beacon," he said quietly. "Sir, a distress signal. The strongest one we can make." Jinwoo's voice grew stronger as the idea took shape. "We take every battery, every power cell, every bit of energy we have left. We build one final message to the stars." Minho's eyes went wide. "Sir, if we use all our power reserves, then we'll have days instead of weeks." "I know." Jinwoo looked around at the dying colony, at the families trying to stay hopeful in the growing darkness. "But maybe, just maybe, someone will hear us. Someone will remember that we exist." That night, while the colony's children slept in their parents' arms to stay warm, Minho and his team worked by lamplight to build their desperate hope. They pulled batteries from broken equipment. They stripped power cells from abandoned sections of the colony. They took apart their backup systems and emergency supplies. By morning, they had built something that might work, a quantum transmitter made from the pieces of their old communication array. It would burn bright for a few hours, sending their cry for help across the galaxy, then die forever. "Ready when you are," Sir Minho reported. His hands shook from tiredness and fear. Jinwoo looked around the command center one last time. Through the windows, he could see families gathering in the main dome, sensing that something important was happening. Children pressed their faces against the glass, their breath fogging the cold windows. "Send it," he said. The beacon came to life with a surge of power that made every light in the colony flicker. Their desperate message shot out into space, carrying the coordinates of their dying world and the simple plea of forgotten people who just wanted to live. As the power indicators dropped to almost nothing throughout the colony, Jinwoo activated the general communication system for what might be the last time. "People of New Sol Colony, we have sent our message to the stars. Whatever happens now, we haven't given up. We have each other, and we still have hope." In the growing cold and darkness, 50,000 humans waited for an answer that might never come. The message from New Sol Colony traveled through space like a whisper in a thunderstorm. It reached the underwater cities of Oceanus Prime first, where the depth swimmers lived in crystal domes. Beneath miles of dark water, Ambassador Flowing Current through kelp beds received the human distress call while floating in her office deep under the sea. Her skin glowed with soft blue patterns as she read the translation. Around her, smaller fish-like aliens waited for her decision. Humans asking for help, she pulsed in the light language of her people. 50,000 of them dying on some rock world far away. They want us to save them. What do they offer in return? Asked Deep Trench Dweller, whose scarred hide showed he had fought in many wars under the crushing deep waters. Nothing useful. Some old books and art pieces. Maybe some stories about their history. Flowing Currents, lights dimmed with boredom. Their world has no valuable metals, no good location for trade routes, just humans who made bad choices. So we ignore them. Of course, it would take 17 of our big ships and cost us months of fuel. For what? To save aliens who can't even keep their own colony working? She turned away from the message display. Mark it as received, but not important. Let them learn to solve their own problems. Light years away, on a world made entirely of living crystal, the Resonance Collective received the same message. These beings were like giant, singing rocks, connected to each other through vibrations that traveled through their crystal bodies. The human plea for help created a small disruption in their perfect harmony, like a wrong note in a beautiful song. Query note of distant concern rang through their network. Biological entities, far away, request transport help. Analysis shows they need many resources but offer little value. Response harmony of practical wisdom vibrated back. Human colony planning shows repeated failures. They expand without thinking, then ask others to fix their mistakes. Helping them would only encourage more bad decisions. Conclusion: Court of Unified Decision. Request noted and dismissed. Our resources are better used elsewhere. The crystal beings returned to their eternal song. The human cry for help forgotten like a brief silence between notes, in the wild storms of a gas giant called Tempest's Eye. The Void Shepherds heard the message through their living ships. These graceful creatures lived their entire lives flying through the crushing winds of their world, never touching solid ground. High Shepherd Windcaller spread her gossamer wings wide as she rode the jet streams, reading the human request with confusion. Her people could travel between the gas giants of their system, but found the idea of living on rocky planets very strange. They want to move from one solid world to another solid world. She asked her council, her voice carried by radio waves through the storm. How odd. Why don't they just learn to live where they are, like any smart species would? The surface dwellers are not flexible like us, replied Storm Rider, dancing through the wind beside her. They need very specific air and temperature to survive. It makes them weak. And what do they offer for this help? Various solid materials and information files. Nothing useful for creatures who live in the sky. Windcaller performed a graceful spiral through the clouds, her movements speaking the ancient language of dismissal. Their lack of adaptability caused their problem. We cannot waste time on every species that fails to grow stronger. Let them learn to survive like we did. The Void Shepherds continued their eternal dance through the storms. The human plea already forgotten in the vastness of their skybound world. On 17 different worlds across 5 star systems, the same thing happened. Alien civilizations received the desperate message from New Sol Colony, thought about it briefly, then decided it wasn't worth their time. Some found the human situation mildly interesting from a scientific viewpoint. Others barely noticed the signal at all. A few even discussed it in their government meetings before voting to ignore it. The Hegemony Council, a group of 5 different alien species that controlled a large section of space, spent exactly 12 minutes discussing the human colony during their weekly meeting. Rescue cost, significant strategic value, none. Resources offered, minimal. Recommendation, dismiss, announced their chief analyst, a blob-like creature that communicated through chemical sense. Seconded, agreed the insect-like delegate, clicking his mandibles with finality. To the galaxy's major powers. The 50,000 humans dying on Kepler-44 to see were nothing more than a small number in a vast universe. Failed colonies happened all the time. Species expanded too far, made poor choices, then faced the consequences. It was natural selection on a galactic scale. Wars were being fought over worlds rich in rare minerals. Trade deals worth trillions of credits were being negotiated. Entire star systems were changing hands through politics and diplomacy. But 50,000 humans with no strategic value, no wealth to offer, and no political influence. They might as well not exist. As hours passed with no response, the beacon from New Sol Colony grew weaker. The colony's power reserves drained away, while the galaxy continued its business as usual. Politicians made speeches, merchants counted profits, and military leaders planned campaigns. None of them bothered to send even a simple message back to the dying colony. In their calculations, Jinwu and his people had already become ghosts, alive but invisible to the universe around them. The galaxy had heard their cry for help and chosen silence in return. Captain Taehoon was 3 days into a boring patrol mission when everything changed. His ship, the Indomitable, was checking on asteroid miners in the outer system when Communications Officer Du Young suddenly went pale at his station. "Sir, you need to hear this," Du Young said, his voice shaking slightly. The bridge went quiet as a weak signal crackled through their speakers. The voice was tired but desperate. "This is New Sol Colony on Kepler-4, for to see. 50,000 souls in desperate need of evacuation. Our systems are failing. We are forgotten, but not gone. If anyone receives this message, please remember that we are human, and we are dying." Taehan stared at the star map on his main screen. Kepler-4 for to see was marked in red, a failed colony that most computers had marked as dead years ago. But it wasn't dead. 50,000 people were still alive out there, and they were asking for help. "How long to reach them?" he asked quietly. 6 weeks at maximum speed, sir," replied Navigator Junsik. "But sir, our orders are to investigate the Proxima shipping problems. Command expects us to. I know what our orders are." Taehan's voice was steady, but his eyes were hard. "But 50,000 of our people are dying, and we might be the only ones who heard them." Lieutenant Commander Hai Jin looked up from her weapons station. "Sir, the crew volunteers for a rescue mission. That's not how the military works." Lieutenant Whitbertine, with respect, sir, the military doesn't abandon our own people. Taehoon opened a communication channel to Earth Command. Within hours, his decision to divert from patrol duties had caused alerts throughout the human military. Admiral Seo Jun received the report while reviewing boring paperwork in his office above Earth. The old soldier had fought in 2 wars, but the words in Taehan's message hit him harder than any battle. 50,000, he said quietly to his aide, Commander Young Woo. "We've lost colonies to attacks and disasters, but never just forgot about them. Sir, a rescue operation would need many ships. Our current missions, young Wu, in your military career, how many humans have we left behind to die? Sir, in 25 years of service, how many human beings have we abandoned? Young Wu thought carefully. None, sir. 0. That's right, 0. Admiral Seo Jun stood and looked down at Earth through his window. Because we don't leave our own, not ever. Within 12 hours, Seo Jun had created Task Force Homecoming, a volunteer rescue fleet made up of every ship that could make the journey. Word spread through military channels, then exploded across civilian networks like wildfire. On Luna's station, Merchant Captain Bo Ram was loading her cargo ship Rising Phoenix when she got the call for volunteers. She was supposed to make a profitable trade run to Alpha Centauri, but she didn't hesitate. Jeho, cancel the Centauri run, she told her first officer. We're joining a rescue mission. Ma'am, the penalty fees will ruin us financially. Then we'll be broke and proud. Get the ship ready for deep space. On Mars, Captain Dong Min of the passenger transport New Hope was doing routine maintenance. When he heard about the mission, his ship could carry 800 people in emergency conditions. Not many compared to 50,000. But every life mattered. In the asteroid belt, mining ship Captain Ji-hoon left a profitable asteroid claim to volunteer his vessel's powerful cargo holds on Europa Station. The research ship Discovery offered her advanced sensors and medical equipment. Dr. Kyung-soo, one of the solar system's best scientists, abandoned his research to join the medical team. I've studied 100 alien species, he told his worried colleagues. But I never forgot that I'm human first. As the fleet gathered near Luna, Earth's news networks picked up the story. Images of military ships, cargo haulers, mining vessels, and research ships clustering together sparked something deep in human hearts everywhere. People protested outside government buildings, but not against the mission. They demanded that more resources be sent to help. Citizens organized supply drives, sending everything from emergency food to toys for the colony's children. Song-mi, a retired teacher from Seoul, organized her neighborhood to raise money. Those children on that distant world, they're our children, too, she declared at a packed community meeting. We don't abandon family. The alien diplomatic community watched with confusion as humanity gathered resources for what they saw as an economically stupid rescue mission. Ambassador Zephyr of the Centauri Trade Confederation questioned his human counterpart about the mission's purpose. Your species is spending substantial resources to retrieve colonists who offer no strategic value. The insect-like alien noted through his translator. What do you hope to gain? Human Ambassador Wu Jin smiled grimly. We gain the knowledge that we're still human, that 50,000 of our people won't die alone while we have ships that can fly. But the cost-benefit analysis suggests, Ambassador, some things matter more than cost-benefit analysis. Apparently, we're the only species that remembers that. As Task Force Homecoming prepared to leave, Captain Tae-hoon received a message from Admiral Seo Jun. Captain, you are now fleet commander for this operation. Bring our people home, all of them. Standing on the bridge of the Indomitable, surrounded by 47 volunteer ships, Taehan opened a channel to the entire fleet. Fleet commanders, we have one mission: reach New Sol Colony and evacuate every single human on that world. We don't leave anyone behind, not one person. Are you with me? The response came from every ship. Sir, yes sir. As the fleet began its journey toward Kepler 4 to see, humans throughout the galaxy looked up at the stars with pride, knowing that their people would cross the void itself before abandoning their own. Task Force Homecoming had been flying at maximum speed for 3 weeks when disaster struck. The converted mining ship Iron Mountain, pushing her engines far beyond what they were designed for, suddenly exploded in a burst of light and metal. Captain Tae-hyun watched his tactical display as the Iron Mountain fell behind the main fleet. Her engines dead, and air leaking from holes in her hull, like blood from wounds. "This is Captain Sun Wu, to Fleet Command," came the panicked transmission. "We've lost main power, and life support is failing. 43 people aboard need immediate help." The fleet faced an impossible choice. Stopping to rescue the Iron Mountain would cost them precious days that New Sol Colony might not have. But leaving their own people behind was unthinkable. "All ships, reduce speed," Tae-hun ordered without hesitation. "We don't leave anyone behind. Not the colonists, not our own people." The next 8 hours tested every rescue skill the humans had. The medical ship Healing Touch, commanded by Dr. Yoon Ju, carefully moved alongside the damaged vessel, while engineering teams from 3 different ships worked to save the Iron Mountain's failing systems. Chief Engineer Sung Ho of the Indomitable led a dangerous spacewalk to transfer power cells from other ships. He worked in the crushing darkness between stars with nothing but the distant glow of their destination to guide him. "Got it," he reported, as the Iron Mountain's emergency lights flickered back to life. She held together long enough to reach the colony. "Outstanding work, everyone," Tae-hun broadcast to the fleet. "Now, let's make up for lost time." But time was their enemy, and worse problems were coming. As they pushed deeper into unknown space, they encountered the territorial boundaries of the hegemony, a group of alien species that didn't like human expansion. The crystalline warship Resonance of Discord blocked their path, its alien commander sending stern warnings in the musical language of his people. "Human vessels, you are violating our territory. Turn back immediately, or we will stop you by force." Captain Tae-hun opened communications with the alien ship. "This is a rescue mission to save lives. We're not taking territory or stealing resources. We're just saving our people." The alien captain's response came through crackling translation equipment. "Your colonial expansion has caused problems in this region before. We will not allow passage." "Then you'll have to stop us," Tae-hun replied grimly, "because we're not turning back." What followed was a tense 12-hour standoff as the human fleet pushed through hegemony space, followed by alien patrol ships like wolves stalking prey. Captain Hai-jin of the escort destroyer Guardian kept her weapons ready but not aimed, walking the dangerous line between being prepared and starting a war. The breakthrough came when Dr. Kyung-soo, listening to alien communications, discovered that the hegemony forces had strict orders not to fire first on rescue missions, a law in their own culture that their military commanders didn't want to break. "They are following us, but they won't shoot unless we do something they can call aggressive," he reported to Tae-hun. "They're waiting for us to make a mistake." The human fleet maintained perfect discipline during their passage through alien space, despite constant surveillance and increasingly aggressive escort maneuvers by alien patrol ships. When they finally cleared the territorial boundary, the alien vessels withdrew with what seemed like grudging respect. But their troubles weren't over. The merchant vessel Prosperity, overloaded with emergency supplies, suffered multiple system failures as her civilian parts broke down under the strain of constant maximum speed. Captain Bo Ram pushed her ship and crew to their absolute limits, making repairs while flying at speeds that made her hull shake like a leaf in a storm. "We're holding together with spare parts and pure stubbornness," she reported to Fleet Command. "But I don't know how much longer we can take this punishment." The research ship Discovery transferred technical specialists to help with repairs, creating a flying repair shop as the fleet continued its desperate race across the galaxy. Teams worked around the clock in cramped spaces between ships, sharing spare parts and knowledge in a display of cooperation that impressed even the veteran military officers. Meanwhile, long-range sensors brought increasingly bad news from their destination. The automated distress beacon from New Sol Colony was growing weaker each day, its signal fading as the colony's power reserves died. Signal strength down to 15% of original reported communications officer Du Young. At this rate, we'll lose contact completely within days. Navigation officer Jun Sik ran continuous calculations on their approach, shaving hours off their journey by threading the fleet through asteroid fields and gravity, wells that would normally be considered too dangerous to attempt. We can cut another day off our arrival time if we use the gas giant's gravity to slingshot us forward, he reported. But it means taking the fleet through an active meteor storm. Do it, Tae-hun ordered immediately. Every hour counts. The passage through the meteor storm pushed human piloting skills to their absolute limits. 47 ships navigated a deadly maze of tumbling rocks and ice fragments, their hulls ringing like bells as debris peppered their shields. The cargo hauler, New Frontier, took a direct hit from a rock the size of a car that punched through her cargo bay, but her crew sealed the hole with emergency patches and kept flying. The mining ship Deep Digger used her industrial deflector arrays to clear larger debris from their path, burning out 3 separate systems in the process. As they cleared the storm and began their final approach to Kepler-4 for to see, the fleet faced their ultimate challenge. Long-range scans showed that New Sol Colony's air processors had failed completely. The planet was becoming unlivable, and they had perhaps hours, not days, to save everyone. All ships, this is Fleet Command. Tae-han broadcast to every vessel. 50,000 people are waiting for us. They've survived 15 years because they believed humanity would never forget them. Today, we prove them right. The sight that greeted Task Force Homecoming as they reached Kepler 442c broke their hearts and filled them with determination. New Sol Colony lay below them like a dying campfire, its dome structures dark except for a few emergency lights flickering weakly in the endless dust storms. Air processors are completely dead, reported Science Officer Min Young from the Indomitable's sensor station. Surface air pressure is dropping fast. We have maybe 18 hours before people can't breathe at all. Captain Tae-hun looked at his 47 ships, all damaged and pushed beyond their limits by the desperate journey. 18 hours to save 50,000 people using ships never meant to carry so many passengers. All captains, this is Fleet Command. We're starting Operation Exodus. Every ship, no matter what type or condition, will help evacuate people. We take every person off that world, on the planet's surface. Colony Administrator Jin Woo felt tears running down his face as he watched the human fleet come down from the stars, like angels. After 15 years alone, and 6 weeks of fading hope, his people were no longer forgotten. Attention, New Sol Colony, this is Captain Tae-hun of Task Force Homecoming. We've come to take you home, every single one of you. The evacuation began immediately. The medical ship Healing Touch landed first, Dr. Yoon Ju, setting up an emergency medical center for the sickest colonists. Many people were weak from bad air and not enough food. We have patients who need immediate transport, she reported to Fleet Command. Loading them aboard Healing Touch now. The massive cargo ship Rising Phoenix touched down near the residential area. Captain Bo Ram converting her freight holds into passenger areas using emergency life support pods. I can take 1,200 people if we pack them tight, she announced. It won't be comfortable, but they'll be alive. Captain Sun Woo, his mining ship, Iron Mountain, still scarred from their earlier crisis, used his heavy equipment to rapidly load families and their belongings. The industrial ship had never carried people before, but human creativity found a way. Sealing air barriers now, he reported as families huddled together in the converted or processing areas. They'll be cramped, but we have full life support. The smaller ships faced the biggest challenges. Research ship Discovery took the colony's scientists and their important data. The destroyer Guardian packed her crew quarters with colonists, using military efficiency to organize families into transport groups. But it was the civilian volunteers who truly made the difference. Captain Dong Min of the passenger transport New Hope had already exceeded his ship's capacity when he learned about elderly colonists stranded in a remote section. "I don't care if we're over capacity," he told his first officer, Park J. "We're not leaving grandparents behind. Find rooms somehow." Throughout the colony, desperate cooperation played out as evacuation teams worked against time. Chief Engineer Min-ho, who had spent 15 years keeping the colony alive, personally guided rescue teams to hidden shelters where families had taken refuge from the failing air systems. "There's a group of children in Sector 7, he radioed to the transport teams. "Their parents are working the final shifts to keep the power running. Get the kids first." Dr. Soo-jin worked alongside the rescue medics, her 11-year-old daughter, Thorin helping to calm frightened children as they were carried to the waiting ships. The girl who had smiled through 15 years of hardship now became a beacon of hope for others. "It's okay," Thorin told a crying toddler as they boarded the New Hope. "The nice people came to take us to a safe place." As the hours passed, the evacuation became a race against the planet itself. The air grew thinner with each passing hour. Emergency masks were distributed to everyone still on the surface. The dust storms grew stronger as the atmospheric pressure dropped. Captain Ji-hoon of the mining vessel Deep Digger made multiple trips between his ship and the colony, using his cargo loading equipment to transport entire families at once. "Last group from Sector 12 aboard," he reported, as his ship groaned under the weight of far more people than it was designed to carry. With 6 hours left before the air became completely unbreathable, they faced their final crisis. A group of 300 colonists were trapped in a collapsed section of the colony, cut off by debris from a structural failure. "We can't reach them with the regular transports," reported rescue team leader Kim Soo. "The tunnels are blocked, and we don't have time to clear them." Captain Tae-hyun made a decision that would have been impossible for any other species. "Deep Digger, can your mining equipment cut through to them?" "Negative, sir. But I can ram through the outer wall and create an opening." "Do it." Captain Ji-hoon deliberately crashed his mining ship through the colony's outer barrier, creating a hole that rescue teams could use to reach the trapped families. His ship was destroyed in the process, but every one of those 300 people was saved as the final transport lifted off from the dying world. Jin-woo took one last look at the colony that had been his responsibility for 15 years. New Seoul Colony was finished, but its people lived. "Final count," reported Communications Officer Do Young. 50,012 souls safely aboard the fleet." 50,012? Tae-hoon asked. "Yes, sir. 12 babies were born during the evacuation." As Task Force Homecoming departed with every single colonist safely aboard, alien observers throughout the galaxy finally took notice. They had witnessed something unprecedented, an entire species that would cross the void itself rather than abandon even their most remote members. The galaxy had ignored them, but humans never leave their own.